What's up, guys? Welcome in. This is the Kinda OP Show, weekly game talk. I'm Jeff. This is Chris. Just going to put out a weekly show talking about games, some sports, whatever comes to mind. Just to give a little backstory on us, we've been playing games pretty much our whole lives.
We're brothers. There's like a 10-year difference between us. So, he has more knowledge on the classic games, and I came out a little bit later on, so I got more knowledge on later games that came out. We always have good talks and stuff about video games, and we just kind of wanted to make this channel and share that with you guys.
Yep. So we thought a good introduction would be top 10 most impactful games. These aren't the top 10 best games. This isn't our top favorite. This is just the top 10 most impactful in our lives. I'll let you go ahead and start if you want. We're going to go in order from 10 to 1, 1 being the most impactful in our lives. So
just keep in mind, we couldn't fit everything in there. So it was hard putting together this list because you want to put everything in there. But in some of these games, I haven't even played for quite a few years, but there's just the nostalgia of remembering playing these games.
Yep.
So number 10 I have is somewhat recent. So there might be a little recency bias, but I think it just brought back the feelings of playing old RPGs. The story was amazing. Everything that you've heard about this game is true down to the letter. And that's Expedition 33 for my number 10.
All right, my number 10, he probably doesn't see this one coming. Street Fighter 2. I'm not huge on fighting games, but this is kind of one of the first games I remember playing as a kid. I remember going to a recent local arcade and playing this, and I remember beating up on some of the older people there, and I just think it revolutionized gaming. So like all the combos and things that you use in fighting games today that might not have been there because of that game, it's what like fighting games are.
I heard you talk about Street Fighter.
Yeah, I haven't played many fighting games recently. It's just not my genre. I'm not into it. I can't get behind any of the recent stuff, I don't think, but that kind of was like where a lot of that stuff started for me back when it first came out.
You guys have any suggestions for fighting games for him? Leave it in the comments.
I'm willing to try anything.
That's it for your number 10?
That's it.
My number 9, also somewhat recent because they just released these 2 games for the Switch and Switch 2, and just playing it this past day, all the nostalgia came back for me, and that's Pokemon Leaf Green. I remember as a kid starting so many new journeys on Pokemon Leaf Green until I finally just went through that last journey and beat the game, and I was in awe by Pokemon and just getting your group together and training them, and I'm so happy that they brought it back to the Switch. $20 might be a little much for a game that's about 30 years old, but I'll take it any day.
And you've since quit Pokemon? You haven't played in a long time?
Yeah, so I think the last Pokemon I played was X and Y. I kind of just fell off a little bit. But, I'm hoping to pick up the new one. The Winds and the Waves looks great. It looks awesome. It sucks that we have to wait until 2027 to play it, but looking forward to that. So,
all right, my number 9, Mario Kart 64. Also not that big on racing games. This was a game changer. The 64 was the first system to introduce 4-player co-op. I'm big on couch co-op. That's like my favorite thing to do. We usually have parties at the house, people come over playing games and stuff. There was nothing like Mario Kart 64. Have everybody come over, fun the whole time. Everybody has a controller. It changed the way racing games were. And I think ever since then, like we've played every installment. We still play it to this day. Mario Kart World, great game, open world style game. But that kind of just like opened up the door for that, and everything after that has been amazing.
2 older titles. You got some recent stuff on that list somewhere?
Somewhere.
All right. Yeah, Mario Kart's great. We play it almost every time we get together. The new one's really fun. I hope they add more to it. My number 8, love this game. I love, again, another RPG that blends that Pokemon, Tales of Symphonia type of feel with Studio Ghibli cutscenes, and that's Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch. I love this game. I bought it for PS3. I rebought it for PS4. There was a Switch edition that I looked into buying again. It's just so fun. You start out as a kid, and the story is really deep too. Like, you start out as a kid, something happens, not to spoil anything, but then like you're thrown into this world of creatures that you have to tame and level up, just like Pokemon in a way. But it's so good story wise, mechanics wise. Everything was amazing about Ni no Kuni. If you've never played it, please look it up.
Yeah, on second guess, I'm looking at this. I don't think there's really any new stuff. I'm just going with all this old nostalgia stuff. So for me, number 8, Resident Evil 1. I'm huge into the horror game genre. That's like one of our favorites. I don't think they make many bad ones. And this is kind of where it all started. I remember playing it with my buddy Dave. We didn't have a memory card. We had to leave the PlayStation hooked up. It took us like a week to beat it. We never turned the console off. We just played all the way through because we couldn't save. And there's just so many iconic scenes. The first scene where, you're walking through and the zombie turns around and faces you. It's like, as a younger kid, like that really creeped you out. The dog through the window scene. I just feel like this really set up the horror genre. I think anything before that, it wasn't too great. And I think everything kind of built on what this game was. So that's kind of why I fell at number 8.
How do you feel about Resident Evil 9 being so many years after the first one? We're both just now playing it. It came out yesterday. So
yeah. I mean, it's Leon Kennedy. Like,
yep,
super
said.
Badass. Yeah, enough said. Like, anytime you put him in a game, like, I'm down.
I mean, to tell you too, we talk about Resident Evil a lot, but I've never played the originals. Yeah. I thought I did, but then I realized they came out for PS1, and I played the remake. Yeah, I thought that was the original this whole time. That and then Zero. So that was a funny thing that I meant to tell you about.
Yep.
All right, on to number 7. This was back when, Xbox and PlayStation was really going at it with their exclusives. And I think Xbox had 2 pretty good exclusive shooters, and this is one of them, and that's Gears of War. I think the trailer alone with the Mad World playing just got us so hyped. The Locust, the shooting, I think that was one of the first games that like really incorporated covering, running the cover, and that was amazing. The Chainsaw Lancer, there was so many amazing things about Locust, and so much stuff that they added later on. The Horde modes, we would get together, me, Jeff, our other brother, we would all get together and play the Horde modes together, and it's just an amazing game. Really, really love it.
Yeah, we had those LAN nights where everybody got together, got a bunch of snacks, and just played Horde all night.
Yep.
My number 7 is one of the first games I played, or the first game I played on my own very first console, and that's Super Mario World. Our uncle had a regular NES. He let me play it all the time. The Super Nintendo was my first console that I owned, and this game was next level. Like, the graphics now look a little crazy looking back, but jumping from the original Mario Brothers into Super Mario World, it's just, the graphics were crazy. Everything about it
compared to all the graphics coming out now.
Yeah, I mean,
probably thought it wouldn't look any better than that.
Right. It is a lot easier jumping back into something like that than it is, the original Mario Brothers, which those games were just, people talk about Dark Souls and things like that now, but these games were the true, like, super impossibles. Like, there were no save points. You get 5 lives to start. You got to make it through and hope you can get through the game without dying. Super brutal. Super Mario World, I think they made it a little more for younger kids to be able to, get through, but still a little bit difficult. But yeah, Super Mario World, great game.
A game that I never played. So I think I've only played one game on your list, and that might have been Mario Kart 64, maybe back in the day. When I say we get together and play, it's more the recent Mario Kart.
Yeah,
we're not busting out the 64, but so my number 6, this is a game franchise that's big on the both of us. I have 2 tattoos for this game franchise, and it's my personal favorite. Again, these aren't the best, but that's Final Fantasy 9. I know 7 is beloved by everybody, but 9, I just really love the environment, the Renaissance feel. The music was incredible. Every single character, you get some of the best characters in BB and, Zidane. I love Zidane. You could have just made him a normal person, but let's throw a towel on him. Why
Yeah.
not? So yeah, really hoping after all these remakes happen, they go back to 9 because that would be a really cool remake for them to do. And yeah, Final Fantasy 9.
All right, my number 6. This is the first game that I ever played online. I never did any online game before this.
I think I know where you're going.
Yeah, one of my friends, Carl, who, rest his soul, he was awful at this game. And he was the first person that introduced me, and I introduced him to online gaming. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. I never even knew anything about online gaming. And then, we get into this game. We're online, playing against people, getting our butts kicked. I always liked playing with Carl because it always made me feel a little bit better about my gaming. And he was always, the child prodigy, jumped in, probably, 10 years younger than me. I don't even know how old you were at the time, but just showing us all up. It was just insane, like watching gaming take that next step where, jumping online and playing against people in other states, other countries, like it was crazy. And the game itself, the campaign, was one of the best. They've remade it somewhat now. I can't really get behind it. But yeah, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare was epic.
Just to touch on something, you like to play with Carl because he would support you a lot playing that game, or because his skill level was just a bit below.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. That part.
You might find Carl in the corner trying to shoot his own teammates. So, but we loved him. He was great to have. That was it.
That was it.
All right. Number 5 for me is also a fan favorite. It really, I think, pushed me more into RPGs a bit more, and that's Kingdom Hearts 1. I kind of struggled a bit putting Kingdom Hearts 1 or 2 because I think 2 just elevates everything from number 1. But number 1 was the first one that introduces you to all these Disney characters. Even if you're not a Disney fan, you're just an RPG fan, that could get you into Disney, and vice versa. If you love Disney but you're not sure about RPGs, this could get you into that. It still holds up to this day. Everything about that was amazing. The story, a little hard to follow along with, but I think it has one of the best openings, one of the best songs. Like even Riku, his like get up towards the end, that costume, amazing. I could probably put it on today and just lose track of time and play it for hours and hours and hours. So,
I'll touch on that a little bit as well because my number 5 is Kingdom Hearts 1.
Awesome.
Just so you guys know, we kept these lists from each other. We didn't want to know what each other had. We didn't want to influence each other's list one way or the other. So it's just strictly coincidence. But yeah, like you said, even if you just go off the soundtrack alone, it's one of the best in gaming.
Yep. One of the best cover arts, I think, too. I remember looking at the cover and be like, man, look, it looked like a painting to me. Like everybody on those, like that building or that cliffside, whatever they were on, and then you turn it around and Sora's face is just right there on the cover. Awesome cover.
Yep. And us being, growing up watching Disney and things like that, being Disney fans, and then also being huge Final Fantasy fans, Square Enix fans, mixing those two together, like
I didn't even touch on that.
Yeah, it was just insane to mix all that stuff together, and help people learn about that stuff, because there were people who were Disney fans who probably saw, Mickey on the cover and picked the game out when they were younger, didn't know what it was, and they get introduced to Final Fantasy characters, and maybe vice versa. But yeah, also definitely a great game.
Weapons in any Keyblade. Yeah, you just say Keyblade and like you want one. You hope it appears in your hand.
Yeah, everybody knows what it is.
Now the real question: did you beat Sephiroth at the Coliseum?
Absolutely not.
Okay,
one day I'll go back and take care of that.
Yeah, not today. All right, awesome. So same number 5. So that kind of shows how in tune we are with how our gaming is and everything. So number 4, talking about Xbox exclusives and whatnot. This is the other title, and that's Halo 3. Amazing game. Way back when there was a lot more couch co-op. Me and my brother would always play. Me and Jeff would always play co-ops, and I would kind of always be that second person. So Halo 3 was Arbiter. I was all about the Arbiter, the alien that Master Chief wanted to blow his head off right at the start of the game. But I think Halo 3 was the first game where it came out and you saw the graphics and you were like, does it get better than this? Like the graphics at the time was insane. The shooting was insane. The wrapping up of the story, finally taking the fight home to Earth, it was amazing. Even multiplayer was amazing, and yeah, it was a great game all around. Halo 3.
Yeah, I think Halo is one of the first games where you really started taking over as like the better of the two of us in first person shooters. I had you earlier on, and then it just turned around, and Halo was like, man, am I doing this to make him feel good or to have fun? Because I'm not having fun. I'm getting destroyed every single match.
I don't think he had me early on, guys. I'll let him have it.
All right.
We both are kind of OP in our own ways.
So number 4, Super Mario 64. There's a lot of Nintendo on this list. You'll learn to know that I'm a huge Nintendo guy. Super Mario 64 was when like 3D kind of, open area platforming kind of started for me. The 64 was like one of the best consoles. And just seeing Mario no longer like running sideways on the screen in 2D, coming to life and everything about it. The music, the way they designed the game, the levels, jumping into pictures in the walls to get into the level instead of just going from one level to the next. Like it definitely changed the way gaming was starting with that console. And so many games have modeled everything since then. Mario Odyssey, some of the Zelda games, like a lot of these games took a lot from Mario 64, and that's kind of like the direction things went after that.
Yeah, again, that was one of the games where 64, I was more kind of on Conkers, but I definitely remember Mario. I wasn't the biggest Mario guy. I think I liked Luigi a little bit more, but
right.
So a lot of these older Mario games, are there any newer Nintendo games that you think stands toe-to-toe with them, or like in 20 years they would take like a top 10 spot on your list? Because I know everybody talks about Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, even the new Marios that come out. Donkey Kong Bonanza came out last year.
Bonanza that was insane. And you can see where the influence came from Mario 64, just like with Odyssey and Mario Galaxy. Bonanza was definitely great. Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. But this is kind of where it started. Like without this game, we don't know where those games would have gone or how it would have played out.
I guess you guys have to stay tuned to see if they take any of this top 10. All right, number 3 for me, I feel like this is the first game where I did absolutely everything in this game. Every single achievement, because I was playing it on Xbox at the time. I got every piece of armor. I did everything in this game, and it really, by the end of it, you really felt like the ultimate player, and that's Assassin's Creed 2. Because by the end, you just felt like the ultimate assassin. The story was so well done. He hasn't played a lot of the Assassin's Creed games, and I don't blame him because if you go back and play some of the older ones, they are kind of dated, and the newer ones are so massive nowadays. But Assassin's Creed 2 just had everything. I think the Assassin's Creed games was kind of the first open world games because they were in smaller cities, but you felt like you could go anywhere. And the story of your whole family dying in the square, and you learning about the assassins and seeking revenge for your family, and you get that revenge. And in the later installments with Ezio also is one of my favorite video game characters of all time. I think he's just through and through from the start. You're with him from the start when he's a young kid whose family gets murdered to all the way to the end where he's an old, just tired assassin who just wants peace. And it's such an amazing arc. And I still remember I haven't played this game in so many years, but when I think about games that I played growing up, this is definitely one of the ones at the forefront.
Do you think those games kind of tailed off once they started going into other areas like Black Flag and things like that?
I feel like they hit a string or feelings with certain people, like Odyssey to me isn't my cup of tea, but I could see if somebody really likes that time period, why that might be one of their favorite games. If you're really into the Pirates of the Caribbean movies or something, Black Flag, amazing. Even Vikings, they have something for everybody. It might not be your cup of tea, but at least it might be capturing that feeling that I had with Ezio with somebody else with those games.
Right.
So, yeah.
All right. My number 3 is another Nintendo title, Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. There's not a whole lot that people don't already know about this game. The storytelling, the gameplay, the music, the areas, the characters, everything about this game. This is probably in my top 10 favorite games of all time. I probably spent them. This is probably one of the first games I've spent the amount of time I did. I think I played all the way through, and then I just spent hours and hours, walking around. I remember as a kid, my friend Brian's mom, she went and waited in line before Toys R Us opened, and she got us the limited edition gold cartridge. And I remember being
I
like,
thought they were all gold. They all weren't gold?
I don't think they were, but either way, I do know that she waited in line, and when we got home from school, like, we both had a copy. So Miss Debbie, if you're watching, you're the GOAT for that. Yeah, so Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Also has tattoos for Zelda as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, Legend of Zelda, it's one of the classics. Big reason why I bought a Switch 2 was for the next Zelda, just so that way we didn't know what the Switch 2 availability would be. And we waited in line, just like how we waited in line for the PS5, and we just wanted to make sure we secured a Switch 2. And I knew I needed to have one the next Zelda release. So yeah, Zelda's a big part of both of our gamings. Ocarina of Time is, just one of the classics. So my number 2, he already touched upon, one of the best multiplayer experiences of all time. I wrote down a number next to it because I wanted to know the age that I was when this game came out. I was 12 years old when my brothers were playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1. And I remember asking for it for Christmas and just being so excited when I went over his house and played it. And I remember he came over to the house. I remember this memory very vividly. It wasn't even Christmas yet, and I really wanted to hop online and play with these guys. And my mom looked at me and said, well, I can tell you, you do have it for Christmas. You can either wait or you can hop online tonight. And I remember him saying, we're all going to be on. I said, just give it to me now. Ever since then, shooters, I think that's what, really threw me into shooters. The multiplayer, it was just amazing. Even the Call of Duty, voice chat lobbies, we were a part of that. We survived the lobbies. So it's just one of the greatest games. And, the weekends of staying up late, rushing home from school, throwing my book bag on the ground just to play that game was just amazing and just great memories. So,
yep.
Number 2.
My number 2, the original Pokemon Blue version. I didn't know much about this game. I seen stuff about it in Nintendo Power magazines. One of my friends was like, man, you got to get this game. There's 2 versions. In order for me to get everything, I need you to get it so I can get everything, and we can trade. And I ended up falling into it, and it's probably one of my most beloved game series ever. I haven't missed a game since then. I've played every installment, every game. I've probably got over 1,000 hours in these games total combined. Yeah, and it's one of those things where everybody has something where you can't say something wrong about it. Like, this is one of those things where no matter how bad it is, no matter what people say or what the criticism is, I don't want to hear it. I'm getting it. I'm buying it. I'm playing it. That's it.
I can't even ask the best starter, right? Because you start with Pikachu in that one, and you can get all 3, or am I mistaken?
No.
Yellow?
That was Yellow. Yeah, Yellow. You start with him. This is still the original.
So the best starter is
Squirtle.
Okay, we'll cut that out.
Yeah. So that's it.
Awesome. Number 2. All right. Number 1 for me. This is again personal preference, personal favorite, but I'll just say it's Dark Souls 3. I think I found Dark Souls at a time where I was kind of, falling out of love for video games and everything. Kind of my reason for falling out of love with Pokemon is it got kind of too easy, and I can't complain too much about that because it is probably more targeted for kids in a way. But the Elite Four felt easy. All these games I was playing really felt easy. I really wanted a challenge, just a better reward for playing a video game. You spend hours on a boss and you finally beat it, and Dark Souls 3 was that first game that I found, and I just immediately fell in love with the story, knights, dragons, swords, magic. It was everything that you would want out of a fantasy RPG. And to this day, I still just remember spending hours. And some people might say that's crazy to spend hours frustrated on a boss, but there's no other feeling that you'll get from finally beating a boss and just like that breath of relief that you let out, like, oh, on to the next one. And, you know, I get it's not for everybody, and I really struggled with which one I loved most because that's that, Bloodborne, Elden Ring. I could have put any of those at number one, but I clearly remember just falling in love with Dark Souls 3 first, and yeah, the rest is history. That was what started me on my FromSoft journey.
Yeah, so. I would never spend hours on that. I spent minutes on that. I died a few times. I went exploring, trying to level up and get stronger, and then I got beat by those people too. And I was like, you know what? This just isn't for me.
Yeah.
My number one is Final Fantasy VII. To me, this is not only
original.
The number one, the original is the most impactful for me, but it's, to me, the greatest game of all time. Up until this point, I had played a few RPGs, the old Zeldas, some of the early Final Fantasies. I never really played all the way through. Final Fantasy VII had everything. It had an amazing story. This is the first time where I feel like in gaming, I really felt like sad while playing games. I'm used to playing Nintendo or Sega or things like that. And then PlayStation drops this bomb, and it's like, you know, you're seeing characters die, and you're seeing, you know, sadness in games. I wasn't used to seeing that up until this point. The characters till this day are probably the greatest group of characters in any RPG or any game in general. They've all got such unique personalities, fighting styles, weapons, attacks. Like, it was my first real introduction to turn-based RPGs. And since then, I've played so many more because I got introduced to this game. I didn't even know what it was. Yeah. I remember having birthday money. I was in the store. I saw it. So many people were buying it, and I just spent the money, got home. It took me a while to get used to it. I think I did everything wrong until I was like level 20. I wasn't equipping new stuff. I was wondering why it was so difficult. But yeah, that's it. Final Fantasy VII. The remakes.
Yeah, he really loves the remakes, so that's why I asked remakes or original. So
I just went with the original because I just feel like that's where it started. But you know, the remakes are damn near perfect.
Yeah, and that's one of those games where you just hear, just like with Zelda or any other one of those games, you hear the music and you immediately just start smiling, and it just transports you back. Like, the music was great. One of the best villains of all time. Sephiroth, I remember seeing Sephiroth for the first time and his sword going off the screen. I'm like, what is this guy?
The snake impaled by the swamp, and it's like, what in the world is this guy?
Great list. Very surprised by a few of yours. You know, I didn't think you would have so many older titles, but you know, you got to think about nostalgia and just, you know, what takes you back to there. So.
And what hits you first. Like, there's a lot of games now that I would put over these games as far as being better quality or you know, better stories. But when we're talking about like the impact that it has, like, these games I just directly remember. Like, this list didn't take me long to put together. It took me a little long to put it in order, but it didn't really take me long to put together.
I'm sure we have a top 20 of honorable mentions. Like we said, I love Final Fantasy VII just as much as he does, but you know, 9 just edges it out a little bit. But the whole list can't be Final Fantasies or Dark Souls games, or we could put every Halo on there for that matter. But
even though I have 3 Mario games on there, you know, I tried to stay away from it, but all the Nintendo love showed.
Bound to happen.
But thank you guys for tuning in. We have a lot more lists and conversations to come. So just like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you on the next one.